Most people don't give much thought to a hug. It's just a hug, right? A polite greeting, a casual farewell, a way to show support. But what if I told you that a single hug, when responded to the right way, could make a man feel something he doesn't even understand, something that stays with him long after the moment has passed? Men experience physical affection differently than women. While women grow up surrounded by warmth, casual touches, and comforting embraces, most men don't. They are taught to be tough, to suppress emotion, to carry their burdens in silence. A hug might be the only moment when those walls come down, even if just for a second. And if you know how to respond to it in a way that makes him feel something real, something beyond the ordinary, you'll become someone he can't forget. The secret lies not in the hug itself, but in the way you react to it. The slight pause before you embrace, the way your body moves with his instead of against him, the warmth in your energy rather than just the gesture itself. All of it creates an experience rather than just a routine action. A man might forget what was said in a conversation. He might not recall every little detail of an interaction, but he will always remember how someone made him feel. And when a hug is met with the right kind of response, it doesn't just touch his body. It lingers in his mind. It plants a thought, a question, a feeling that he can't quite shake. That's what makes the difference. And today, we're going to break down exactly how to do it. Let's begin. A hug isn't just about two people wrapping their arms around each other. It's a silent exchange of energy, an unspoken connection that can either be forgettable or deeply impactful. Most people rush through it without thinking, barely noticing the moment before it ends. But when you understand the power of a well-timed response, a simple hug can become something a man remembers long after you've pulled away. The truth is, men rarely experience deep, meaningful physical affection. While women receive warm hugs from friends and family regularly, men often go through life without that kind of gentle, reassuring touch. That's why the way you respond to his hug matters more than you think. It's not just about the hug itself. It's about how it makes him feel. Most women either rush the hug or treat it as a mere formality, letting go too quickly or keeping their bodies stiff. But when you respond with intention, you create a moment that lingers in his mind. It all starts with what happens before the hug. Lock eyes with him for just a second before leaning in. That brief moment of connection sets the stage, making the hug feel natural rather than automatic. Then, as you embrace, don't hold back. Instead of staying rigid, let your body relax into his. It doesn't mean clinging or making it obvious. It means letting him feel your presence. A warm, natural embrace feels different from a rushed, distant one, and he'll notice the difference without even realizing why. And here's where most women miss the opportunity: when pulling away. If you're the first to let go, the moment ends too soon. Instead, linger for just a second longer than expected. Let him be the one to notice that you didn't immediately pull back. That tiny hesitation speaks volumes without a single word. It tells him that for just a moment, there was something unspoken between you, something real, and whether he understands it or not, he will remember it. Because a perfectly timed response doesn't just create a hug, it creates a feeling, and that feeling will stay with him far longer than he ever expected. When a man hugs you, the way you respond shapes the entire experience. Some women stay stiff, barely acknowledging the moment, while others pull away too quickly. treating it like nothing more than a polite formality. But the real difference comes from the subtle lean in, a simple yet powerful gesture that turns an ordinary hug into something he won't forget. This isn't about trying to be seductive or making the hug last unnaturally long. It's about being present, allowing your body to respond naturally instead of resisting the moment. A man can feel the difference when a woman truly embraces a hug versus when she's just tolerating it. And that difference lingers in his mind in ways he may not even realize. The key to mastering the lean-in is all in the details. First, relax your shoulders. If your body is tense, the hug feels impersonal, like you're bracing yourself rather than enjoying the embrace. Tension creates distance, even when you're physically close. But when you allow your shoulders to soften, it signals something deeper. It tells him that you're comfortable, that you're not in a hurry to escape, that for just a moment, you're fully there. That single shift makes all the difference. Then, as the hug begins, take a slow, natural breath and exhale slightly. It's subtle, but the way you breathe in a hug changes the entire energy of it. A shallow, forced breath or holding your breath completely makes the moment feel awkward, like you're waiting for it to be over. But when you exhale just a little, it sends a quiet message of comfort. It's like telling him, without words, that you feel at ease. That small, unconscious signal is something he'll pick up on, even if he doesn't understand why. Your arms also play a role. Many women either grip too tightly, making the hug feel forced, or keep their arms stiff and detached, making it seem distant. Instead, let your arms rest naturally. A gentle hold, not too tight and not too weak, makes the hug feel genuine. It's about balance, just enough to show that you're truly in the moment without making it feel calculated. And then there's the most important part, the lean-in itself. When you allow your body to melt into his, even if just for a second, it changes everything. It's not about pressing against him or exaggerating the movement. It's about allowing the natural warmth of the moment to take over. About being unafraid to close that tiny gap between you. That fraction of a second where you relax into the hug is the moment he feels something different. It's the moment his mind registers your presence in a way that isn't forced or expected. Men don't often get this kind of closeness. Most of their interactions are based on formality, handshakes, pats on the back, distant greetings. But when a woman hugs them with even the slightest bit of real presence, it stands out. He may not be able to put it into words, but he will feel it, and that feeling stays with him long after you've stepped away. Because in that brief moment, you weren't just another person in his day. You were someone who made him feel something real. Most women let go of a hug too quickly, treating it like a brief formality, just a polite gesture before moving on. But when a moment ends too fast, it doesn't leave an impact. It fades into the background, just another routine interaction in an ordinary day. The delayed release changes that. It turns a simple hug into something that lingers in his mind, something he replays without even realizing why. It's not about making the hug last unnaturally long or forcing anything. It's about giving the moment just a little more space to settle, to be felt, to leave a lasting imprint. There's a psychological reason behind this. The longer a moment lasts, the stronger the emotional impression it leaves. When something is fleeting, the mind moves on quickly. But when a moment stretches just a little longer than expected, it becomes memorable. It interrupts the usual pattern, making him more aware of what he's feeling. That's the power of the delayed release. Not in words, not in grand gestures, but in a subtle shift that makes the hug feel different from any other he's had before. The way to use this technique is simple but incredibly effective. When you hug him, hold the embrace for just 1 extra second beyond what feels normal. Not long enough to make it awkward, but long enough for him to notice. That tiny pause changes everything. It signals that the hug isn't just a polite exchange. It's something real. It allows warmth and connection to sink in just a little deeper. And in that extra second, something happens that he won't even be able to explain. He just knows it felt different. As you step away, don't break the moment too abruptly. Instead of pulling away quickly, let your hands naturally trail off his back. It's a small detail, but one that makes all the difference. A sudden break can feel distant, like the connection is being cut off too soon, but a slow, natural movement eases the transition, making it feel like the hug didn't just stop. It lingered, even after you let go. And then, the final piece. The moment after the hug. Most people look away immediately, shifting their focus elsewhere. But if you maintain eye contact for just a brief second after stepping back, it deepens the moment. It doesn't have to be intense or obvious, just a simple glance that acknowledges the connection that just happened. That small act creates an invisible thread between you, one that doesn't break even when the hug is over. He may not be able to put into words why this hug felt different. He won't be able to pinpoint what made it stand out, but he will remember it. He will feel it long after it's over, because in that brief delay, in that subtle moment of lingering presence, you left an imprint that his mind won't easily let go of. A hug already has the power to create a lasting impression, but when you add words into the moment, it deepens the connection even further. Men respond to physical touch, but they also respond to words, especially when those words are spoken at just the right moment. Most hugs happen in silence, a brief exchange of warmth before moving on. But a whispered phrase, said softly just before pulling away, does something different. It creates an emotional trigger, something that lingers in his mind long after the embrace is over. It turns a simple hug into something he won't forget. The beauty of this is that it doesn't have to be complicated. Just a few simple words, spoken in a quiet, natural tone, can leave an impact far beyond what you might expect. A phrase like, "That felt nice," is effortless, yet it subtly tells him that the hug meant something to you. It's soft, it's understated, and it makes him think about it long after. Then there's, "I needed that." Those words carry even more weight. They make him feel important, like he gave you something valuable, something comforting. And when a man feels like he's able to provide you with a moment of peace or warmth, it strengthens his connection to you without him even realizing it. Another powerful yet simple phrase is, "You always give the best hugs." This one does something different. It makes him feel special. It tells him that his embrace is unique, that it stands out from all the others. And whether he admits it or not, that thought will stay with him. The next time he hugs you, he'll remember those words. He'll want to live up to them. He'll start associating his hugs with something meaningful, something you actually look forward to. But the key isn't just in what you say. It's in how you say it. A soft, effortless whisper, spoken just as you're pulling away, makes it feel natural. It's not forced, not overdone, just a quiet moment between the two of you. That softness creates a contrast against the silence of a normal hug, making it stand out even more. He won't be able to shake the feeling it leaves behind. And just like that, with a few carefully chosen words, you turn a simple hug into something he won't stop thinking about. It's often the smallest, most unexpected touches that leave the deepest impact. Human psychology is wired to remember subtle sensations, especially those that stand out from the ordinary. A light, lingering touch, something barely noticeable yet deeply felt, can stay in his mind long after the hug is over. Most people pull away from an embrace without a second thought, letting go completely as soon as the hug ends. But adding just a brief, delicate touch in that moment shifts the experience from something routine to something unforgettable. One of the most effective ways to do this is through the backstroke technique. As you pull away, let your fingers lightly brush his back, arm, or even just his sleeve. It should be soft, effortless, almost accidental, yet intentional enough for him to register it. The key is subtlety. If it's too obvious, it loses its magic. But when done just right, it activates a subconscious response that makes him associate that small touch with warmth and comfort. It's the kind of sensation that lingers in the back of his mind, even if he doesn't fully realize why. Men rarely experience soft, intentional affection. Society teaches them to be strong, to be less in tune with touch, to overlook the gentle side of connection. That's why something as simple as a barely there touch can have such an impact. It catches him off guard in the best way, making him more aware of the moment, of the way you make him feel. It's not about seduction or strategy. It's about presence, about leaving a feeling behind that stays with him. The beauty of this technique is that it requires no effort, no planning, just a small natural movement that makes all the difference. He might not even be able to put it into words, but he will remember the way it felt. And long after the hug has ended, long after the moment has passed, that light touch will still be with him. The way a hug ends can be just as powerful as the hug itself. Most people pull away too quickly, breaking the connection in an instant, as if the moment never really mattered. But when you exit a hug the right way, you leave an impression that lingers in his mind, making the warmth of that embrace stay with him far longer than he expects. It's a simple shift, one that requires no extra effort, yet it completely changes the way he experiences the moment. Instead of immediately stepping back, let the separation happen naturally. Move away slowly, as if you're savoring the last trace of closeness. Don't rush. Don't make it feel abrupt. Let there be a brief pause, just a fraction of a second where your eyes meet before you fully turn away. That small moment of lingering eye contact tells him, without words, that the hug meant something. And when you make him feel that way, he instinctively starts valuing it too. It's not about being dramatic or overthinking it. It's about presence, about making sure he feels the energy of that moment instead of just moving on from it like any other casual interaction. A well-timed exit creates a subtle longing, a quiet recognition that something felt different, even if he can't quite explain why. And that's exactly what makes him remember it. The hug may be over, but the way you left it will stay with him. Most women underestimate just how much a simple hug can affect a man. It's not just a routine gesture. It's an unspoken moment of connection, one that can leave a lasting impact when done right. While words may fade from memory, the way you make someone feel stays with them. Men, especially, don't often experience deep, intentional, physical affection, which is why responding to a hug in the right way can make all the difference. It's not about trying too hard or overcomplicating things. It's about presence. When you embrace the moment fully, leaning in just enough, relaxing into the hug, holding on for that extra second, it creates a feeling he won't easily forget. A soft whisper right before you pull away adds an extra layer of warmth, and a light touch as you step back lingers in his mind, even after you're gone. The way you exit the hug, smooth and unrushed, leaves him with the sense that the moment meant something, making him naturally value it even more. These small, effortless actions work on a deeper level, creating a quiet but powerful emotional trigger. They aren't about manipulation. They're about deepening connection through something as simple as a hug. Master this, and he will find himself thinking about you long after you've walked away. Until next time, this is Stoic Guide. Take care, and see you in the next video.